Let's talk about saving and reusing SQL. Now that you've got maybe a SQL query you're happy with, you might want to save this to come back to at a later date. Aginity is always going to remember what you're working on, so that if you close this file or you shut down your computer, when you reopen it, it's going to have the same tabs, the same content, just like where you left off, which is going to be great for helping to make sure you don't lose anything. If you were trying to clean up your environment and you accidentally closed a tab that you wanted back, you can just right click and restore that tab, so we'll remember that, and you can get back to that. If you do want to save this outside of Aginity Pro, or save this beyond just having a tab open so you could close that, there's a couple ways to do that. You're probably used to saving queries as a .sql file on your computer or on a shared drive. And there's a way to do that. You could just right click and say save to tab to file, or you can hit file, save as. That's going to create a .sql file wherever you'd like. But we heard, as we were creating Aginity Pro, we heard from a lot of SQL authors and analysts, SQL writers, that it's oftentimes hard to search for the SQL if you've saved it on your hard drive or on a shared drive. And when it's hard to find that, it often leads people to rewrite something that already existed, and that costs time. It costs money as you're trying to essentially redo work that you've lost. So we built the Aginity catalog that we mentioned earlier as a way to save your SQL in a more intuitive, searchable, and executable way. So let's take that query that we just wrote, and this is a nice, simple way to filter products, like my products table and products database, by a particular class name. And if I wanted to I could save that in a file, but if I wanted to actually create a bit more reusability around that, I could right click this and say I'd like to save this to our catalog. Let's just call this products by class, and we can give it a nice description if we want. So filter products table by class name. I'm just going to save this here in my catalog directory. You can. I actually have a pretty detailed catalog with a number of folders, but I'm just going to save it on the top so it's easy to find for this demo. And I'm going to hit create. And that's going to go ahead, and when I click over here on the catalog, it is going to appear here in the top of my catalog. If I wanted to actually use this, go ahead and just type the @ beginning of curly braces, and if I just started to type product, you can see here it's searching through my catalog. It sees right at the top products by class. Let's go ahead and run that. And it's now running that SQL. It's remembering that I prompted before, and it goes ahead and runs. You can actually hover over this and see that query that we've saved here, and now accessing that saved bit of logic is just as easy as starting to type a couple keywords after that shortcut command. So this is really useful. You can actually share objects in your catalog, so you could export this, share it with your peers, and import their catalog queries. So it's a great way to take any SQL statement, any batches of SQL statements, or even a part of a SQL statement, like a where clause or a join clause that you use frequently, and save that to your catalog for easy reuse. Check our documentation for some additional details in this feature. We have some blogs on our website for some neat uses of the catalog. And as with the exporting to file, any of the advanced functions or new capabilities that we've offered with Aginity Pro, you can find other deeper dive videos on how to use those in the Resource Center or in our documentation or on our website. Lastly, let's look at the Discovery Pane again and see how that can help us find things that might be useful in our SQL history or database. If I was searching for maybe that offering table, when have I written queries for that, you could search your SQL history. So even if I didn't save that to the catalog, it's going to remember that I've written queries against that table before. You can filter that so that I am searching the catalog, and we can actually see that products by class was just created And if you wanted to search for tables that contain the word offering, or columns that contain the word offering, you can search database objects. And that's actually going to allow you to navigate very quickly to that particular table or column. You can see right there, it's taken me back to our database explorer and showed me the table where that text can be found.